metuni supi wachang to lalim kalau tawe ali vai tanna lalim chu da hikite supi wachang mahapan thai the.
Welcome viewers from LALLIM Media. The Kuki Army's recent announcement that it has taken full control of the Lalim region in Myanmar's Tamu District, Sagaing Region, has stirred attention across both sides of the India-Myanmar border. Lalim, a historically Kuki ancestral village, has long been a flashpoint of conflict involving Kuki resistance forces, the Myanmar junta, and allied militias such as the KNA Communist Party, KCP, and the People's Liberation Army, PLA. The declaration of control is not just a military statement. It carries profound symbolic, political, and strategic significance for the wider Kuki-Zo movement that straddles Myanmar and India. Reports from local and social media sources describe fierce fighting that preceded the takeover. Resistance groups comprising the Kuki Army, Thadou Defence Army (TDA), and local People's Defence Forces (PDFs) reportedly engaged junta troops and their allies in and around Lalim, eventually forcing them to retreat. The village's terrain, hilly, forested, and familiar to the local Kuki population, gave resistance fighters a tactical advantage. Some sources suggest that junta soldiers fell back toward Panthar and nearby areas, leaving behind heavy casualties and material. The battle, fought with small arms, artillery, and occasional drone support, lasted several days and demonstrated the resilience and coordination of the Kuki-led forces. Following the withdrawal of junta-line troops, the Kuki Army declared that the area was fully secured. In practical terms, this means local checkpoints, patrol routes, and logistics channels are now under the authority of the Kuki Army and its allies. Reports indicate that communication lines have been re-established between Lalim and nearby villages, and that resistance groups are consolidating their hold by securing supply routes, repairing damaged homes, and protecting civilian returnees. Whether the junta will attempt to retake Lalim remains uncertain, but for now, resistance control appears solid enough for the Kuki Army to make its declaration public. The victory in Lalim carries immense historical weight. The region lies within a belt long inhabited by Kuki-Zo tribes whose territories were divided by the colonial-era boundary, separating India from Myanmar. For decades, these communities have lived with a dual reality, sharing kinship across the border while being subject to two different states. The Kuki National Army, KNA, the broader movement to which the Kuki Army belongs, was founded in 1988 with the vision of safeguarding Kuki interests and identity on both sides. It has since evolved into one of Myanmar's key ethnic armed organizations, active in Chin State and Sagaing Region. Lalim itself has seen cycles of violence and resistance since the 1990s. After the 2021 Myanmar coup, when the junta began widespread crackdowns, Tamu Township and the Kabul Valley Corridor turned into a battleground between the military and an array of ethnic armed groups. Resistance grew stronger in these border regions where ethnic unity was more easily mobilized. For Kuki-Zo fighters, the fight for Lalim was as much about reclaiming ancestral land as it was about resisting authoritarianism. The people of the area have faced repeated attacks, airstrikes, and village burnings by the junta. Human rights organizations such as Burma News International report that since the coup, at least 161 civilians have been killed and more than 23,800 displaced from Tamu District alone. In this context, the retaking of Lalim represents not only a tactical success, but also a moral and emotional victory for its people. Control of Lalim, however, is not without larger implications. Strategically, it sits close to India's Manipur border, making it a crucial logistical hub. For India, this development adds complexity to an already tense frontier. Refugee flows, arms trafficking, and militant movement have long been concerns. A Kuki-administered enclave across the border could strengthen cross-border ethnic solidarity, but also heighten Indian security anxieties. It may push New Delhi to speed up its controversial border fencing project, something vehemently opposed by Kuki-Zo chiefs on both sides, who argue that fencing divides families and ancestral lands. In recent months, 16 Kuki village chiefs along the India-Myanmar border publicly protested against border fencing and declared non-cooperation until their political and territorial rights were addressed. This movement highlights the same underlying issue that animates the fight for Lalim, the assertion of Kuki autonomy and recognition. The resistance in Lalim is therefore not an isolated rebellion, but part of a broader assertion of indigenous identity and self-determination that has been brewing for decades. The Lalim victory also alters the psychological terrain of the Myanmar civil war. The junta's forces have been stretched thin across Sagaing, Chin and Kaya states, facing dozens of localized insurgencies. Losing control of a frontier area like Lalim underscores the junta's weakening grip and the growing capacity of ethnic forces to challenge its authority. The resistance now controls several key pockets across Sagaing Region. With Lalim added to this network, the Kuki Army can potentially coordinate with other groups to form an unbroken belt of resistance stretching from Chin Hills to the Kabor Valley. On the other hand, this very success could make the region a target for reprisal attacks. The junta has repeatedly used air and artillery bombardments to retake rebel-held zones. Given that Lalim is a civilian-populated village, such actions could cause further humanitarian disasters. Resistance groups must therefore prepare for the dual challenge of defense and governance. Establishing civilian administration, ensuring food supplies, and maintaining law and order will test their ability to move beyond guerrilla tactics into sustainable self-rule. The capture also carries internal political meaning within the Kuki-Zo movement. Over the years, divisions among various Kuki armed organizations, some aligned with different factions or regional interests, have often diluted their collective strength. The operation in Lalim reportedly involved coordination between the Kuki Army, TDA and PDFs, suggesting a more unified front. This cooperation could be a blueprint for broader ethnic military coordination across the borderlands. Yet internal cohesion will remain fragile unless supported by clear political goals, resource sharing, and consistent engagement with local civilian structures. Historically, Lalim's position has made it a node for migration, trade, and cultural exchange. Many Kuki families on the Indian side trace lineage to clans in and around this region. During earlier waves of insurgency and counterinsurgency in Manipur and Chin, Lalim often served as a refuge and rallying point. The present development thus resonates deeply within the collective consciousness of Kuki-Zo communities. Songs, oral histories, and village traditions often recall the sacrifices of ancestors who fought to protect their hills and valleys from external domination. For these people, the current moment feels like the continuation of that long narrative, an unfinished story of survival and assertion. Observers, however, caution that while territorial gains are important, the larger struggle is political. Without a unified vision for governance and civilian safety, military success alone cannot secure lasting peace. The Kuki Army's next steps, whether it builds inclusive administration, ensures humanitarian access, and coordinates with broader anti-junta coalitions, will determine whether Lalim becomes a lasting stronghold or merely another contested battlefield. It is also worth noting that the Kuki-Zo people are not the only ethnic community suffering under Myanmar's turmoil. Sagaing Region hosts diverse groups, Bama, Shan, Naga, Chin, and their lives too have been torn apart by conflict. The resistance in Lalim, while ethnic in identity, must navigate a complex web of inter-ethnic relationships and avoid the pitfalls of exclusivism. Building alliances based on shared democratic aspirations, rather than solely ethnic lines, may offer a more sustainable future for the frontier. The announcement of total control over Lalim thus reflects both triumph and tension. It demonstrates the resilience of a community long marginalized by national politics, yet it also exposes the fragility of life along the border. Whether Lalim becomes a beacon of local autonomy or a future battleground will depend on how both the Kuki Army and the international community respond. Continued fighting could bring further suffering, while careful consolidation could set an example of community-based resistance governance in a fractured country. Ultimately, the Kuki Army's claim of victory in Lalim marks a historic moment in the ongoing transformation of Myanmar's border wars. It redefines the Kuki-Zo role from scattered ethnic fighters to organized territorial actors. For now, their control is both real and symbolic, a declaration of existence amid chaos, a message to allies and adversaries alike that the hills of Lalim remain unbowed. Disclaimer: the analysis above is based on publicly available news, social media updates, and reports from local and international sources. Some battlefield claims remain unverified due to restricted access to the conflict zone. The views expressed are solely analytical and do not represent official positions of any organization. Sources: YouTube, LALLIM Myanmar, Kuki Army/PDF versus KCP PLA 2025. YouTube LALLIM battle. 2 TDA died, 1 injured in ambush 2025. Facebook resistance forces regain control of Nan Muntar Lalim village 2025. Karishma Hasnat X. Fighting broke out Kuki-dominated village of Lalim, Tamu subdivision, Aug 2025. The Wire fierce clashes between resistance and pro-junta forces in Tamu 2025. Burma News International. Over 160 civilians killed in Tamu District since Myanmar coup, Sep 2025. Wikipedia Kuki National Army entry for historical context. Thank you for watching. Please do share this video and don't forget to subscribe Sagaing Media.
Firing Lalim ko khuko ma namunta khu tu jun ka kap chai win
Zo tabe Kuki Army hockey bo we
guys Lalim at ala do we to jo fake news we na lu yang ang lu thop win ka cha pawan ka ting jing we
toi namun ta khu zo chu ka bo re
Khamei mun to kula ka titulo
namun ta le ani a zo ta namun ta zo ta ania ka zo ta abib rồi
firing haso chi hovin mai no holo ho PDF photo ma lai phải từng khi này sao mang lệ của mình